Okay, I'm in the garage today and I wanted to do a quick walk around on a Jeep I get a lot of questions about, and that is my 2021 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so here it is, my Sarge Green 392. If you guys follow me on the Driving Line channel, you know I've been building this thing for the past few years. Love this Jeep. This has got the Extreme Recon kit on it, so it has the little fenderettes. Came with 456 gears. Obviously, Extreme Recon is basically now gone, and all the 24 392s have the nice, you know, refreshed grille, interior, full float rear axle. So, hey, you know, they're going to keep making these things better, and I think that's great. I want to go over a couple questions I get about this Jeep pretty frequently. One out of the gate is suspension. So a while back, I installed a JKS 2.5 suspension kit on this thing. This, I opted for their Fox 2.5 with DSC adjusters. These things are fantastic. You get low speed and high speed compression adjustment. High speed is the movement of the actual shock rapidly. So if you're going to hit a hard bump really fast, going through a speed bump, that's what you're controlling. Low speed is sway. So as the Jeep goes down the road, if it feels like it's like driving on an old boat, all you have to do is turn that up. I think it works fantastic. The problem with the suspension kit is that they've pulled it off the market right now. And the reason I'm being told that they have done that is because they're not happy with the coils. The coils specifically, they're having some inconsistency with coil height, and I think maybe even some coil bowing. I'm not 100% sure. I think you can still call and order this kit, but it's not on the website right now. So a little bummed about that. I'm guessing they're working on, you know, getting that figured out. I like this lift height. It's let's dare say practical. It's not crazy tall, but it's not so small where I'm scraping underneath all the time. Yes, I do wheel this Jeep. If you're not familiar, it's not just like a mall crawler. And, you know, I think it's a really good lift kit in general. Like, it drives nice. The shocks really work off well to sort of tame that heavy V8 engine. I couldn't be happier. Hopefully it'll come back. It's got fixed lowers. I probably should have gone with adjustable lowers. Maybe my only complaint with this kit is it runs like OE style bushing arms, and they just don't flex as much as some of the aftermarket arms. Rock Crawler has a really dope control arm bushing now that gives you a ton of flexibility. I ended up putting that on my bigger Gladiator, and I really like how it works. But the Rock Crawler arm is straight, and you can't run high numerical backspacing, whereas these arms are actually, it's kind of hard to see here, they're notched in a bit, and that allows for the tire to be you know, have more clearance. And then why that's important is I'm running 4 3/4 inches of back spacing. So I've got a pretty good scrub radius. The tire actually stays underneath the fender well pretty well. That helps a lot when you're off-road and you got low air pressure. And it keeps a lot of that weight off of the front end. So you're not eating up the ball joints as much and things like that. So I'd have to go with a lower numerical back spacing if I had something like a straight, you know, lower control arm like a Rock Crawler one. So in that regard, I think this is the better, you know, fit. This V8 weighs a ton, and you know, you can see how far, you know, out it sticks from the ball joints already. And you know, you don't want to really go a ton, and you're just going to put so much more pressure on this front end. So that's sort of your good and bad of what's going on with the suspension. No squeaks, no real weird noises. Very happy with it. A couple of the other mods that I get questions about. When I did, I just pulled the end caps off of the factory front bumper. I love the way these factory bumpers looked. I think they did a really good job. Warren VR 10S winch. Everybody asked why I didn't go with the Xeon. Number one, Xeon wasn't even available at the time. This is perfectly fine. It's a low amp draw, has great line speed. It's way more affordable. So I don't know. I think it's a good winch. People seem to think that like I cheaped out on the winch or something. The winch is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. These are from GG Lighting. These have been awesome. They have this little running light feature here. I painted the bracket. These come like a, I don't know, like a silver or polished aluminum. I painted this black. Actually used some like bed liner, like Rust-Oleum, that actually matches the bumper really well here. So I'm happy with that. I don't know. unnecessary, but I like how they look. Same thing with the ditch lights here. I actually got these from being part of Nitto's Pit Crew, which is basically like an Instagram page. You should check them out. If you've got Nitto tires, you can essentially apply to be part of it. And it's like one of those influencer programs, and you get swag. And this is one of the like freebies you can get for being part of it. So pretty cool. I bought these. These are 7 Sparta mounts. They're okay. I mean, they do what I need it to do. Yes, for all you light guys, I don't have these mounted correctly. And what I mean by that is I have my ditch lights mounted forwards when technically, if you really want to illuminate a ditch, you have them mounted out. And this is just purely cosmetic. I don't like, you know, how they look sticking out, but overall, good look. Happy with that. Other thing that I get a question a lot about is forced rear wheel drive. Do I still drive this thing in forced rear wheel drive using the Taser from Z Automotive? And the answer to that is absolutely. I don't have a problem with forced rear wheel drive. I think, let me turn this thing around here. So more or less, forced rear wheel drive is not doing what a lot of people think it's doing, where it's like binding or forcing something in the transfer case to hurt the transfer case. The 3022 transfer case is available in multiple Wrangler platforms with the 2-wheel drive option. So essentially when you're forcing that, when it's called forced rear-wheel drive, you're just disengaging that clutch pack for the front. So you're in 2-wheel drive. If anything, you're putting a lot more pressure on the rear axle. Here's my 2 cents on that and my experience with the 392. I've driven a few of these things now. I've got this one, I've got a 24. Here's how I drive them. If I'm daily driving, we're going on a family trip, dropping the kids off to school, these things stay in forced rear wheel drive. Now, if I want to impress somebody or make the kids giggle, I'm going to click it into 4 auto so I can goose it and get on it and it's not going to slide all over the place. That's how I drive it. I'm simply trying to preserve the clutch pack in the transfer case itself, and I'm trying to make the steering a little bit lighter. That's it. So that's how I personally run the Jeep. I haven't had a problem with that. Again, you're not hurting the transfer case. If anything, you're putting a lot more pressure on the rear axle. Now, speaking of axles, let me show you something else that I've done. And that is, I've swapped out the factory CV shafts for a set of RCVs. Now, this was I feel like a necessary upgrade for me, partly because at one point I put this Jeep on 38s, and that was a lot of tire. Matter of fact, I put it on these 38 specifically that are on my Gator. So it's a 38 1350 with 4 3/4 inches of back spacing. I made it fit with 2.5 inches of lift. I wheeled it. It was cool. I didn't have, you know, like, I loved how it looked, but the steering was very heavy. And I was like, I don't know if this is really worth it. And you could really tell the power was down, even from just 37s, partly because of that big footprint. So I said, you know what? I think I'm going to go back. Now, why that all makes sense for why I did this, you know, $1,600 axle upgrade. Well, when I was wheeling with the 38s, I would hear clicking coming from the front end. Now, initially, I was like, oh man, I bet you that's my ball joints. I've put too much pressure. Maybe something's loose. Well, I went back to 37s and I didn't hear it as much, but you could still hear it. And I thought, I think that's the CV going either bad or potentially going bad. So I decided, you know what, let me swap out the RCVs. It's an upgrade that's not that expensive. That's a huge strength upgrade anyhow. And that's what I did. Have not heard that noise since then. And yes, obviously I'll show you some clips here. I've wheeled this thing quite a few times since swapping these, you know, in. So I think I figured out what that was. I like them. You know, a lot of people think, oh, they sling grease, or like, just people over grease them. Like, just clean them. This is, you know, this is like a few thousand miles since I've put them in. It's been fine. I don't drive this Jeep daily as much anymore. I've just got too many cars, to be honest with you. But you know, I definitely put this thing through its paces when I do go out. It's got a 37 by 1250 R17 Nitto Trail Grappler, KMC bead locks. Again, 4 3/4 inches of back spacing. I really was torn on should I paint this wheel or not, but I said, you know what, I'm really going to wheel this thing. This thing's going to get torn up. There's no point in, you know, painting the wheel. So of course here I am, and it's like, I don't know, 8 months since I put these wheels on. I got no scratches on them. So I've been incredibly lucky. Probably next time I go out, you know, that'll happen. But yeah, so that hopefully covers suspension questions, why I did with the RCVs. Yes, I think they're worth it. Not a bunch of issues with it. In terms of rubbing, I did trim up a little bit more in the back here on this plastic inner. I got rid of this. I still need to cut this little bracket off for the stock bumper. I would like to put an aftermarket bumper on it. And I would like to change the tire carrier in the back. I just don't like how far it sits off of here. If I was moving up to a 40, I would just ditch the whole tire carrier assembly in general, but being on 37s, it works fine. It hasn't really been like a noise issue to date since I tightened everything up. Interior's holding up very well. I'm not very tall, so I end up like rolling, you know, sliding out of this seat a lot, but it seems to be holding up pretty good. Got a little bit of a seam right there. Overall, I'm very happy. I get a lot of questions about the Sky One Touch. Would I do it again? Yes. It's louder than a hardtop with sound deadening for sure, but it's kind of neat to be able to just pull the top off that quick. Pulling a hardtop off is just really a pain in the butt. I also really like, I'll show you a clip here where you can take the back windows out, and I've got the half door group for this. So that's pretty cool. Also, if you got any questions, just drop them in the comments. If you want to see more crazy stuff that I'm doing, you can check me out on basically all like social media stuff at Ollie Mansour Editor. And that's really about it. So thanks for watching my ramblings. Hopefully this answers some questions, and if not, maybe you didn't have anything else to do anyways and you wanted to watch a guy talk about his Jeep. All right, thanks for watching. See ya.